Hello horror fans and welcome back to the scariest channel on YouTube, Top 5 Scary Videos, the place where you'll find no stranger thing than the creepiest tales from the darkest depths of the internet. Well, mainly Reddit, but still. What's going on guys? As per usual, I'll be your horror host Jack Finch as we walk down a dark road at midnight, cross the street and pray that we don't ever meet, and take a look at the top 5 scary encounters with strangers. Roll the clip. Let's not sugarcoat it guys, there's some creepy people on this planet that we call Earth, and here's a compilation of some of the scariest near misses that the internet has to offer. Before we jump into that though guys, you know the drill by now. If you're a fan of this video, creepy tales from the Twilight Zone, or just top 5 scary in general, then go ahead and hit that thumbs up button as well as that subscribe bell so you can stay up to date with our latest and greatest uploads. To get in touch with myself, Kelly and the creative team here at Top 5 Scary, then go ahead and take a look at the info box down below so you can say hello. On with the show. Kicking off at number 5, the man in the yellow raincoat. And this story is so damn creepy that you'll think twice the next time you see someone sheltering from the rain in a yellow nylon jacket. You never know what they're hiding beneath that bright, shiny exterior. This story from Reddit user Whale Baboon happened roughly around 2004 in Seoul, South Korea. As it goes, their mum's friend lived in a huge apartment complex and her husband worked away during the day. She'd usually run errands with her daughter to keep busy, and on the way back on one particular occasion, she stepped into the building's elevator and noticed a man in a yellow raincoat standing inside, with his head hung low and his face obscured. She instantly felt uneasy and made her daughter stand to the side. What made it even more uncomfortable was the fact that when she went to press the button for her floor, she noticed that no other number was lit. On top of that, the man was clutching something wrapped inside a newspaper to his side. Things started to click and she started to panic. She pulled out her cell phone and pretended to call her husband, saying that she was nearly home and it'd be nice if he could meet them at the door. Obviously, he was still at work, but quick thinking, right? When the elevator reached her floor, she quickly got off and grabbed her daughter. Of course, the man got out too, and of course, he was following her down the hallway. She started banging on the door, calling for her husband, when the man seemed to lose interest and turn around. But when he heard her fumbling for the keycard to her room, he turned back around and sprinted at them. Thankfully, the woman and her daughter got inside with seconds to spare. But it's the epilogue to this story where the real terror lies. Several months later, she was watching the news when coverage on the capture of a serial killer named Yoo Young-chul came on the screen. It was awful, she thought, but when the news program showed images of the familiar yellow raincoat that the killer would wear, the hairs on the back of her neck stood on end. Now that's a near miss. Next up at number 4, roommate wanted. We're piling on the creepy with this one, as Reddit user Scars and Stripes tells it. Amanda, their brother's girlfriend, was looking for a new apartment when she was moving into town and wanted to split a house with a like-minded person. She found an ad on Craigslist titled Roommate Wanted, females only, which was common as the area was mainly young professionals. It was a steal of a deal too, $225 a month, and the occupant, who'd listed themselves as a 23-year-old college student that didn't want to share a space with any males. Fair enough, but there was more to it. Much more. When Amanda got there was a sign on the door that said door broken, use back door. So she did, and when she knocked, it was a man who answered. A guy who was clearly in his 40s, unshaven, and looked like he'd been living in a car. Red flag. Definitely a red flag. The man claimed to be the landlord and the occupant was running late from work. He offered to show her around when a few more red flags started to pop up. First, there was no furniture anywhere. The house was blank, boarded up in weird places. And that's when he tried to show her the basement. Fortunately, Amanda, through some quick thinking, managed to flee the house, and when she got home she instantly called the police. Of course, by then the ad had been taken down, but when the police searched the house, they found a strange room that the man had been staying in. There was rotten food and dirty old blankets everywhere, but when they checked the basement, the area that he'd wanted to show her before she escaped, the police found that the man had tied a thin piece of fishing twine at about shin level across the stairs down. The basement was empty save for a broom handle wrapped in old leather belts and a small box filled with rolls of duct tape. It's safe to say Amanda never moved in. Swinging in at number 3, camping horror. Next up is a story from Reddit user NJO Alley, which happened to their parents way back in the late 80s. They were in their mid-20s when they decided to go camping out in the forests of Cool, California. The place, not the state of mind. They arrived kind of late when they started unpacking the truck, when they heard something or someone walking around their campsite. They were already pretty spooked, so they noped out of that particular spot and decided to drive the 3 miles down the road to the next campsite with their headlights off, hoping they wouldn't be followed. Once they got there, they set up camp, had a few beers and listened to a boxing match on the radio. Eventually they got tired and decided to turn in. Their dad nodded off pretty much straight away, but their mum was still half awake when she suddenly heard footsteps from outside the tent. She listened for what seemed like hours when suddenly she heard, in the creepiest voice you could ever imagine, "Here I am, I'm going to kill you." Then she heard what she believed to be a knife running along the material of the tent. She was frozen with fear when suddenly she snapped out of it and screamed, "Jim, grab the shotgun, kill that son of a bitch." Damn straight. With that, their dad finally awoke and heard the guy running away. Of course, they didn't have a gun, but it was a bluff that paid off. When they got out of the tent, they found that their tires had been slashed. Thankfully, about an hour or so later, a park ranger pulled up and said that he'd been patrolling the area for any suspicious activity due to a string of recent murders nearby, of which they were probably the next victims. Crazy stuff. Coming in at number 2, under the bed. And damn, this one is creepy. As Reddit user Myra tells it, this event occurred sometime around late 2012 after they'd just moved into their first apartment and in the process of moving in. Myra was on the phone to her boyfriend when she absent-mindedly headed outside to collect her mail. It's important to note this because you'll find out why later. When she came back inside, she sat on her bed opening her mail, still on the phone to her boyfriend, when she accidentally dropped the phone on the floor, landing under the bed. She crouched down to get it when her eyes grew wide in terror. There was someone under her bed. She choked the urge to scream as whoever it was facing the other way and hadn't seen her notice them. Trying to be rational, she quickly picked up the phone, clearly stating her clumsiness out loud, and told her boyfriend she was taking a shower. Of course, she headed in, locked the door, ran the shower, and instantly jumped out of the window. Don't worry, her apartment was on the first floor, the story doesn't end there. She called the police, who instantly told her to get to a safe place and keep an eye on her window and door from across the street. When the cops arrived, they stormed into her apartment and found the man clutching a knife in his hand, standing directly outside the bathroom door, waiting for her to come out. See, he'd snuck in when she was getting a mail and the door closed behind. Close call. Let's not meet that person, ever. And finally, our number 1 spot, he had plans. This story from Reddit user GenLegend3 has a real dark tone to it and probably is the definition of strangers that you wouldn't ever want to meet. Seriously. Ever. When Jen was a kid, she was hanging out in a place she called the Pinecone Forest, a little area that the neighborhood kids called a small patch of trees on the side of the road that they would hang out and play in. She was picking bark off of one of the trees while she waited for her friend Frankie to finish his homework and come out and play. Out of nowhere, a guy came up to her. She could smell him before she saw him, the stench of stale cigarette smoke. He wasn't very old, but he had a very lazy eye, almost cloudy, and his teeth and fingernails were stained yellow. Jen was kind of scared to look at him, but her mum had taught her to be nice to people, so she faked a smile and said, "Hello." He asked her what she was doing and she said she was picking bark off a tree. He replied that she shouldn't do that. Picking bark was like picking off the tree's skin. How would you feel if someone picked off your skin? He said while he pinched her arm with his sharp yellow nails. It's then that Frankie's mum, Sonia, saw what was happening and called out for Jen to come inside. And she did, and she was safe. Little did Jen know, but Sonia had called the police after she saw the man get out of a white van and follow Jen to the Pinecone Forest. When the cops showed up, it turned out that they'd tailed the guy and followed him just outside of the neighborhood. In the back of his van were binoculars, a Polaroid camera, and pictures of Jen taped all over the walls and the ceiling. Her at school, her at her grandparents' house, her at the bank with her mum, everywhere she went. But that's not all. The man had the key to a storage unit on him too. When the police later checked the location, they found a cabinet full of knives of all kinds, paring knives, a butcher's cleaver, even a melon baller. Alongside that, there were books on anatomy, duct tape, and 10 empty 5-gallon buckets. In the middle of the room, an old bed that was used to restrain mental patients, and the entire unit was covered in plastic wrap. Whatever the stranger intended, he intended to do it to Jen, and thankfully she narrowly avoided that fate. creepy stuff. Well, unfortunately folks, that's all we've got time for in today's top 5 scary video. Thanks for sticking around all the way to the end. I sincerely hope you've enjoyed the show. To continue on with your horror binge, then feel free to hit the playlist floating shortly above. As per usual, I've been your host Jack Finch. You've been watching Top 5 Scary Videos, and until next time, you take it easy.